So today's topic is, are you a fitness business black belt? The Revenue Ladder Explained. And you're probably wondering, what on earth is a business black belt? What is a revenue ladder? Well, that's what we're talking about on today's show and why it's important you should know your fitness business belt. James, can you explain the black belt revenue ladder?
Yeah, sure. It's a concept we came up with actually all the way back in 2015. And I'll be honest with you now, I ethically stole this idea from a guy called Peter Cook, who had a company called The Thought Leaders, and he was doing business development and ideas in Australia. And he was a martial artist, and he used it to help his guys determine where they sit on their professional development, what they need to work on. And I thought it's such a great idea that I kind of coined it for the Strength Matters. Now, we had the Business Academy for Strength Matters back in 2014, 15, 16, when we started throwing these ideas out there. And we had it for us as a way to guide people onto what they should be focusing on within their business right now. And the best way and the best analogy we found was this black belt system, where in an ideal world, think about it in terms of martial arts. White belts need to be doing white belt shit, right? Black belts need to be doing white belt shit, but they also need to be focusing on black belt stuff at the top of the ladder too. So What we tend to see is a lot of fitness professionals, they come into their business side of things, they're starting to do black belt stuff when in fact they're a white belt. I'll give a good example, because we've just done a podcast recently as well about Facebook advertising. Now, I would argue that Facebook advertising is what we call purple belt, brown belt, and black belt stuff, not white belt stuff, right? So most people are trying to push, white belt concepts into black belt concepts into their concept when they're not ready for it. So it just allows us to help us figure out where this fitness professional is in their journey, and also to help them scale their business appropriately at the right time, at the right place. I think that's where the concept came from. And then we came up with this idea of the revenue ladder, where essentially, you have white belt, you have blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, black belt, which is kind of based on the BJJ system, where we have a revenue ladder of what their monthly income is. So in terms of understanding that, just there'll be a visual on the show notes for this as well, but white belts are people who earn less than $2,500 a month, blue belts earn less than $5,000 a month, and then purple belts earn less than $15,000 a month, brown belts less than $25,000 a month, and then you have black belts who are earning just under $50,000 a month. Now, if you're earning over $50,000 a month, then you're into a whole new world of other business systems that don't really fit into this ladder. But it just gives you an idea of where you are in your professional development. And what we see is a lot of fitness professionals are stuck at white belt, and they can't really scale to blue belt, which is where the fun part of the journey begins in their fitness business journey, essentially. I think Andrew is a good person to speak about this, because he has a great analogy to explain how this works in terms of whitewater rafting.
Yeah. Andrew, before you go on to that one, actually, could you just explain why it's important that you know where you are on the revenue ladder, and then obviously into your whitewater rafting analogy?
Good point, and a good starting point. When I'm working as a business strategist, helping fitness professionals grow their business, this framework that we've got into play enables us to really zero in on the key pointers that a fitness professional needs to concentrate on to grow their business. When we're starting out and are on white belt level, it's all about that early struggle, finding the right client, the right client avatar that we wish to be working with, making sure that we've got the right market, the right message, and the right medium that we can attract our targeted client base. Once we get that, we then find that business can be fun. We've got some basic systems in place, we've got some basic marketing in place, and we're merrily generating consistent leads. But as our business grows, that's when we start hitting those ripples of white water, and this is where the white water, the rafting analogy comes into play. We start dropping the ball as the rapids begin to accelerate. We're dropping the ball more frequently. We're letting clients down. We're not doing a consistent follow-up, and so on and so forth. And the way that we can overcome that is through getting the proper systems and procedures into place. And once we enables us to do that, then we have a more predictable form of approach with those systems then enable us to get that stability back into play and make business fun again.
It's interesting as well. Like I think now Jürgen, I'm going to use as an example now, will come up multiple times that here. He's one of our black belt VIPs we're working with, and he's a purple belt right now, and he wants to scale up to brown and black belt accordingly. But when we started working with him, the first thing I wanted to know was what white belt systems did he have in place, and he didn't have any. So like he was struggling to scale up, but the reasons he was unable to scale up was because there wasn't some of the white belt systems in place to help him do so. Think of it like a leaky bucket. So if you keep constantly pouring water into that leaky bucket and everything spills out everywhere, you're never going to fill those buckets up, right? And it's just a constant drain on your life essentially. So it's essentially that it's just not about helping people who are white belt to get to blue belt. It's identifying where the gaps are in their business systems to help people scale accordingly. And sometimes it's just the little small tweaks that are needed to help you scale accordingly. And I know this because I've built it the hard way, right? I really have. And like it's, unless you get things done at the start, it can cause a headache and a world of pain later on down the line. And you just don't know where it is. And it gets to that stage as well, where you're in the middle of the rapids, fighting the rapids and where you don't know where to look. You can't see the wood from the trees and it becomes hard to identify. So this is what we've tried to do is like come back to basics, strip it right down and see where they're at.
And does knowing where you are on the revenue ladder impact your decision making then?
Yes, 100%. I think, like I said, in terms of the way I look at it, I break it down to 3 different areas: launch, grow, and scale. So for me, for white belts and blue belts, they are what we call the launch phase of their business, right? That's the launch phase of their business, where I think their number one priority is sales. They got the sales of their lifeblood of their business. They need to have money. If you don't get out of that white belt as fast as you possibly can, then you become another statistic in your business, in the fitness business statistics, where another one goes under. And we see this regularly. It's unbelievable to see how many businesses have gone out of business in the last few years within our own email list, actually, which we've been working on recently. But like the idea is you need to get a white belt into blue belt, which is like a fun stage. But your priority is sales. We need to focus on sales and sales and sales. Then lead you into blue belt, purple belt and brown belt, where it's all about systems. That's the grow stage of your business, where we've got to focus on the systems to help you scale up later on down the line. That's where the Facebook advertising revenue comes in. You can do it because you can do it so much more simple. It's an easy way to scale up accordingly if you have it in place. So launch is definitely is all about sales for white belts and blue belts. Purple belts and brown belts, it's all about systems. That's the growth stage of your business. And then black belt is all about scaling, and that's where we go everything and put everything together into a workable plan moving forwards.
Absolutely. And if people want to find out what belt they're at, what can they do?
Oh, easy enough. Very much go to strengthmatters.com/quiz. There's a quick quiz. It'll show you what's holding you back in your business right now, or the number one thing you need to be focusing on. And I highly recommend doing that free quiz. Take you 2 minutes. And you get some free feedback and advice as well, what you need to focus on.
Thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. That is it for today. Please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. And if you want to find out what's holding you back from growing your fitness business, as James has just said, go to strengthmatters.com/quiz and take our free quiz.